Welcome to Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I am Marc Bernardin.
Hey!
Oh.
How are you kids? We're still quarantining, of course, in separate places, even though we live in the same city. I don't know if you've caught the news, but the governor or the mayor, somebody said there's not a single ICU bed left. So we're playing it safe, even though we relatively trust each other and whatnot, but we're playing it safe.
I did see the stats that LA County seems to be the hot spot in the worst county of the worst state in the worst country for COVID.
We're ground zero, they said. They're calling us ground zero right now. What was New York at the beginning of the quarantine when we all felt bad, like, oh my God, poor New York. We have now surpassed New York right here in our own backyard. And it has affected not just my travel to go like to the fucking Scum and Villainy Cantina and meet with Marc and JC and Andrew and do a show. It has also affected my ability to go see my mom on her birthday. I didn't get to go do that last week. Didn't get to go to the opening of movies in Minnesota and Minneapolis, which sold out, but thank you. But still, I didn't get to go. We debuted a giant fucking suit there, Marc. Like a big movie costume. Spent a pretty penny to make it with the people that make the Masked Singer costumes. I didn't even get to fucking enjoy it and shit. I knew this is the lamest of COVID complaints. There are people who are like, I've lost relatives, bro. But, you know, we can't do much. I'm not going to Dallas to see my kid over Christmas. This will be the first Christmas since the kid come out the chute that I won't be looking at her. You know, so we're in a world where none of that's going on. Me and Marc are in separate places and whatnot. Protecting our brood, protecting JC's brand new brood and whatnot, and protecting ourselves. We're middle-aged fucking men, for God's sakes.
Middle-aged men with pre-existing conditions.
Yeah, this fucking virus is hunting for us like the Terminator. Me and Marc are a couple of John Connors trying to, maybe not John Connors, we're Sarah Connors trying to duck this fucking terrible killing thing and duck it so that we can have a future, man. Apparently we have kids that save the world, so.
It went from, I think the stats were something like 1 in 2,500 people had COVID as recently as November. And now it's 1 in, I heard like 25.
Yeah, it's even lower now in Los Angeles. It's something like 1 in 20 where it's like, oh my God, that's getting closer and closer. Yeah. Now I'm starting to look at my wife all sus. She never leaves the house and I'm still like, can I trust you?
Did you go get the mail? Who got the mail?
And it's still I guess the vaccine is starting with people that need it the most, but this feels like, you know, Matt, that moment in Jaws when Robert Shaw's telling the story about the Indianapolis. He's like, you know, that's the most scared I was the whole time. I'll never put on a life jacket again. Like, we know rescue is coming. But it's not quite here yet. And it's like, will the sharks eat us before they get us up out of the fucking water?
And that big fat PBY is hovering over us.
A young fella, young like Mr. Hooper here.
Herbie Cooper.
Herbie Robinson, chief.
Herbie Robinson.
From Cleveland. He bobbed up and down in the water like a kind of top. He'd been upended.
Like a kind of top. That's my favorite part of it.
I saw some shit on Twitter where I don't know, some British magazine, either Empire or Total Film, somebody wrote some sort of fucking think piece and said like, Jaws ain't all that. And it was like,
Another 24-year-old who just saw a movie has some feelings.
And it's like, bro, like, just, I don't know many things in life to be true, but Jaws, I know, is indeed all that. It still holds up. We were just fucking quoting it, and it didn't even come across like out of touch, irrelevant old men, because Jaws is always right there in the public consciousness, man.
Jaws is life.
Sharks.
Jaws is life.
How have you been, sir?
I've been good, man. I've been good. This has been I'm trying to remember what this last week was. This last week was a lot of end of year meetings, business stuff. Like the industry town tends to shut down Christmas week and doesn't open up again until after New Year's. So there's a lot of like, hey, can we get a quick zoom in? Hey, can you turn this in? Hey, we gotta send you off to write this thing. And so it's been really busy. All good things. Nothing in any way that made me um, depressed or disappointed. It's like, oh man, I didn't get that. I've had enough of I didn't get that.
Right.
This was you're primed to try to get this, which is a pretty good place to be.
Fucking A, man.
Yeah.
I spent all this week, me and Eric, our buddy Eric Carrasco, who's written the Supergirl episodes that I've directed. He's been on Fat Man Beyond, and also, of course, he's one of our co-writers on Masters of the Universe, Revelations, coming to Netflix in 2021, which excites me because I remember doing PowerCon, not last year, during fucking COVID, but the year before when we announced it, we were all there and shit like that. And there was so much energy in the room. And I was like, I'll see you fuckers in 2020. And Mattel was like, 2021. And I was like, what? It's 2019. What are you talking about? And they're like, it takes a long time to do this shit, dude. It takes like a year to make cartoons. And I was like, I did 2021. Well, now we're coming up to 2021 finally.
We are. Although it makes me wonder if Mattel knew something, where they're like, listen, man, you're not going to be back here in 2020.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why.
I know. Fucking they might have a conduit into the future. Maybe they knew some shit. Let me tell you something. Honestly, like 2020 has been like a shit year, as we all know. But my happy place, honestly, has been that Masters of the Universe series. Like, because when we were done for the most part, like, all the writing had been done by the time I got to like finished with the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow tour. That was it. But I'd never been involved with a fucking project like this. I mean, we did the Clerks cartoon years ago and stuff. But like, I guess when we did Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie, it was like this. I forgot there's this rainfall or waterfall effect of satisfaction that comes with something that's going to be produced away from you. Like, normally in my world, I write a thing and then I direct a thing and then I cut a thing. And then, I'm living with this fucking thing forever. I can't draw for shit. I'm not an animation director. So Pat and Adam are our two directors and whatnot. They take our scripts and then periodically, like throughout 2020, they're like, here's an animatic or here's a fully animated cartoon. And so like, every other week, I guess it was, just when like, it was like, man, fucking, can this year get any worse? Boom, Motu would pop up and be like, here's something to make you feel better. And like, I get lost in the animatics and the animation. And it's such a wonderful world where the characters like really give a fuck about each other. And also they're like, it's such an epic adventure. And so, the story just really engrosses me and I know where it's going. Like I'll sit there and fucking be like, I hope it works out for these fucking people. And I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen. It's just so fucking good. So that has been my happy place and stuff. But this week wasn't a Motu week, although I did see episode 5, what they call first take. That means the full animation before Powerhouse gets in and fucks with the lighting and makes any corrections. And it's so fucking good. I said it before on the show. I saw Marc's episode, which is 3, and it's so fucking good. 5, they're all fucking wonderful. 5 was written by Eric, and it's like, it's just plays like a movie. There's a lot of things that kind of happen. But it looks so fucking good. So that was enjoyable this week. But I had an outline to get done this week as well for somebody entirely different, for something I haven't talked about yet. And I'm going to keep quiet until I know that it's happening or not happening. Like if they're like, this ain't never going to happen, then I'll be like, oh my God, let me tell you what almost fucking happened. But if it happens, then I'll be like, oh my God, I can't fucking believe this is going to happen. And let me tell you all about it. So me and Eric did this outline and tag team back and forth like all week and just turned it in today. Made a big like Whole thing was great and perfect. And then we made a big fucking change right before we submitted it. That was like a change that kind of ran through the whole thing. You had to go from top and fix all the way down. So it gave me one last opportunity to walk through the outline, which is like 17 pages, single spaced. And it's good. Like, I'm happy as fuck with it. Like, I was like, you know what? This would fucking work. And if they're like, this is horse shit, it'll never work, I die on the cross of like, well, that's what I think it would be. And if not, like, don't worry about me whatsoever. But fingers crossed, man. So we just turned it in this morning. And, I probably won't hear nothing about it till after the holidays. Yeah, everybody would like you to get done right before the holidays, but nobody's going to make any decisions till after, New Year's and stuff like that. So I woke up early, like, to do that. Like, when I'm in a wonderful writing space, like, if 5 o'clock in the morning will roll around, I'll wake up because I just want to get back into that world, whatever it is I'm writing, if I'm so into it. So I got up this morning at 5 and I was like, oh my God, I'm going back into that. That was fucking fun. And I worked from 5 until 1 o'clock this afternoon and then submitted it and stuff. So point of the story is I have been remiss. I have not showered in 3 days. Thank God we're not dealing with each other. Thank God. You can probably see the stink lines rising off of me on the Zoom. I apologize to, I've been doing cameos over at Cameo for all the money we use to rebuild the secret stash, because we're rebuilding Jay and Silent Bob's secret stash down the street. So for like 3 days while I've been fucking up the ass of this outline, I let my cameos like slip. So I apologize if anybody was like, I tried to get a fucking cameo and it expired when you didn't send a video. I will definitely get back to them if you want to resubmit and stuff. But do you ever get that when you're just in the writing place and you're like, everything else has to fuck off? I took a break yesterday 2 times to stream. One was with Jay, because he asked me to come over and stream on his Twitch channel. And we opened up these Masters of the Universe figures that Mondo makes, which are like unfucking believably beautiful. Crazy great. And then at night, I hosted over at IGN for Tiltify. It was called Steve Buscemi has a charity he loves called Friends of Firefighters that he was doing a fundraiser for. And it was with like everybody who's still around from The Sopranos. And it was nuts, like, fucking Jersey orgy. Without even leaving this room, all on the laptop, seeing like some of the most famous fucking people, because I've watched that show a number of fucking times, as has the world and stuff. So I took time to do that. That was like really cool. I got to kind of fanboy out and we raised like $100,000 for the Fireman's Fund.
Oh, shit, that's amazing.
Pretty sweet. I mean, you got the entire Sopranos cast, and also David Chase was there. Terrence Winter had written a new scene, and they did a reading. It was almost like the full cast reading of first new Sopranos material since the show went off the air over 10 years ago. So as soon as I was done with that, boom, I went back into the writing. Like, I was writing right up until I had to jump on the Zoom to do that. And then as soon as it was done, boom, I went right back into the outline. When you go hard like that, like, and not about beating the deadline, but when you like love what you're doing, do you find that where you're like, I'll wake the fuck up early and shit like that?
Yes, but on the other side, I'm never a wake up early to do things guy. I'll stay up as late as it takes to keep going. So my writing ends up now it's a little bit different, but let's pretend that I'm on a job where I'm in a room not related to whatever I'm writing from 9 to 5. Then I go home and I'll be with my family for a bit, and then people start like dropping off at around 10:30, and then I will start writing at about 11, and I'll write if I'm okay about it until like 12:30 or 1. But if I'm in it, if I'm in that hill, if I'm on the downhill of it, then I could be up until 3 o'clock in the morning. Because the motor of it becomes this like perpetual energy machine where like you can keep going because it keeps feeding you, and you've got another thing, and I can see the end, and that's the reason why I do it at the end of the day, is that feeling of, oh no, I'm just barely holding on. I'm no longer having to like grind this shit out. It's not the beginning, it's the end. And
Right.
that's my favorite part.
I do. I love that sense of completion where you're like, that was today when I turned it in. I shouldn't have done this, but like old habits are hard to break. I was like, I'm going to order a bunch of fucking food because I deserve that. You know, I used food as a celebration. You're not really supposed to do that when you're my type of person. And, you know, but I couldn't. I was just such an like, you know, like this was everything. It took so long and now it's done. And fuck, I need solely fucking Louisiana vegan food. So I indulged like that and whatnot. But yeah, it was a writing week. It sounds
I had a friend
like
who
a writing
once
week.
said, you know, who gave me this advice, which I found it kind of helpful. That like when you turn something in, if it's big, when you finish something, especially if you're getting paid for it, but like when you turn in that thing and that check shows up, like buy yourself something. Like doesn't have to be big, you know, or it can be big. Like you want to buy yourself a new car, do it. You want to buy yourself a nice TV, do it. But some semblance of the risk reward is good to kind of reinforce. But I'm at the point where the things that I would do, I can't do. Like I don't need a new car. Like I'd love to go out for a really nice dinner. I'd love to, you know, throw a tiny baby party. I'd love to, you know, buy a round of drinks for people at a bar. Can't do any of that. So yes, Grubhub gets the like, hey, you know what I'd really like?
Yeah. Oh my God. There's this place. I don't even know. What's it called? Fuck. I don't even know because I just, you know, you'd order on the app. So you look at the picture and shit like that. But we order from there almost every day and they make these cookies, Dorothy's vegan cookies. Let me tell you, man, Dorothy has made a lot of fucking money off me, my fat ass. I've been ordering these cookies. They make these chocolate chip cookies and these peanut butter chip cookies. They're vegan. They're so fucking good. So every day, like we wind up ordering them. And I wonder about these like folks like that run their businesses and send out food via Postmates. Do you think they like notice like these fuckers again? Or is it just a series of numbers and shit? I think I may order enough for them to like take notice where they're like, we may have to cut him off. He's got a problem or something.
I think if you ordered directly from the place, they might like the Postmates. I kind of feel turns it into this weird like binary digits and faceless algorithms. But if you just call them and be like, "Hey, you know what I want," they'd be like, "Yeah, no, we know what you want."
That was like Veggie Grill. When I used to go on a Veggie Grill, I was like the norm of fucking Cheers. They're like, Kev, how's it going, Mr. Kev? I'm like, fucking going vegan. I'm not a good writer. That's why I didn't win an Emmy for Cheers, Mark. Obviously, I just showed you I don't have Cheers chops. I didn't come up with a fast enough Norm Peterson joke. Most of the audience like, who the fuck is Norm Peterson? It's very old comedy, kids. Oh, Cheers, check it out. The chat's going wild, Mark, because all anyone wants to talk about is Bib Fortuna. No, they want to talk about so many things that happened in the season finale of the Mandalorian, and so we should dive into that. But first, we got a sponsor, kids. We're always delighted and honored and happy and really shocked when anybody chooses Fat Man Beyond to advertise on, because we're like, what's our demographic? What does an advertiser look at me and Mark and say, you know what I can sell through these guys? Like, it's always interesting to me. And apparently when people look at me and Mark, they're like, hair replacement. Those guys, I look at them and I think middle age. I think they're losing their hair. What could they do about that sort of thing, man? And the good folks at Keeps, remember them? The good folks at Keeps, they co-sponsored last week's show. The good folks at Keeps, man, they look at me and Mark and they know that they could trust their product in our hands, man, because we believe in keeping as much fucking hair as we possibly can. When we were young bucks, hair going down the shower drain, we didn't care. You can pull out clumps of that shit, man. When we were in our emo days, thought we'd have hair to spare forever. And then one day that ain't the case, man. How do you keep what you got left? You use Keeps. Tell them, Mark.
2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. And the best way to prevent hair loss is to do something about it while you still have that hair left. And you can have to go to a doctor's office for your hair loss prescription. But now, thanks to Keeps, you can visit a doctor online and get hair loss medication delivered right to your home. Easy, deliver your medication every 3 months, so you can say goodbye to pharmacy checkout lines and awkward doctor visits.
Prevention's key, folks. Keeps treatments typically take between 4 to 6 months to see results, so it's important that you act fast, man. The sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you'll save. Just makes absolute sense. It's math, ladies and gentlemen. Find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and more than 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication, man. Keeps treatments start at just $10 a month. That's cheap. Plus, for a limited time, $10 a month, I can't afford not to do this, Mark. Plus, for a limited time, you can get your first month free. Free bucks.
So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/fatman, FATMAN, to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's KEEPS.com/fatman.
Please do it. Number one, do it because without hair, like, you can't get shit done in this world. Do you ever see the only bald person gets shit done? Lex Luthor and Jeff Bezos. Same guy for all we know. If I have one regret in this life, Mark, 2 regrets. One is not taking every cent of that clerks and mall rats money and sticking it into storage facilities. I'd be a fucking rich man right now. And the other,
stock, no, storage facilities.
That's where the real money is. This country's so full of shit. Everyone's got to rent places to stick it and whatnot. So I wish I'd done that. Number 2, I wish I'd kept more of my hair. Keeps came along a little too late to save the hair that I lost, but they're going to help me keep the hair that I got right now, man. If I go to keeps.com, KEEPS.com/fatman. Keeps, ladies and gentlemen. The good folks at Keeps are proud sponsors of Fat Man Beyond. If you like us and you like your hair, go to keeps.com/fatman.
Like the man said.
Tell them me and Marc sent you.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's see if chat was offended by that commercial. Nope, all they're doing is talking about Mandalorian. They don't even need us. They're joined in the chat, getting deep into the conversation, for heaven's sake.
It's like we're running a storage facility and we just opened the door and they're just having a grand old time.
Don't fucking tease me by saying storage facility, man. I could have bent somebody. Man, before we dive into the Mandalorian, can I show you something? Like, one day they're gonna find me dead in this room, and people are gonna be like, murdered, and people are gonna be like, what was the murder weapon? And it's gonna be this. Look at how fucking thick as a dick this book is, dude. It's the Grant Morrison JLA Absolute Edition. I read about it on Twitter because somebody there was an article somewhere about how they took the artwork, an old Howard, I think it's a Howard Porter piece of artwork. Yeah. An old Howard Porter cover from like an old, I think it compiled 3 issues, and they changed like Martian Manhunter's cape. They removed half of it. So the article was like, why the fuck would they do that? It was an interesting article, but what I got most out of the article is there's a fucking Grant Morrison Absolute Edition. So I ordered that shit on Amazon, and it came, and it's heavy, dude. This is one of the heaviest books I've ever seen. And look at all the material. I paid cash money for this, man. Some people like send me free shit, like we talk about it, but I paid cash money. This is $150. I mean, I bought it on Amazon, so I'm sure I got it cheaper, but you could kill a human being with this much creative writing.
I mean, if your dick is that thick, you need to register with the police.
Tell me about it. Ooh, look at that. Ooh. Ooh, it's got one of my favorite comic book stories ever published, Rock of Ages. That's in there as well. It's beautiful, beautiful tome to have, man. And when it came, my wife was like, they sent you another free book. I said, this ain't free. I paid for it. And she said, you asshole. That's how I know it's money well spent. My wife is like, why would you do that? And I'm like, I knew it. I knew there was a reason I wanted this book. Okay, man. Wait, what is it? Alec Bird says, do we tell Kevin he should have brought it from his own comic book store? What an excellent point, man. But I'll be honest with you, Amazon ships faster than Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, and I had to have this book immediately.
I want it, and I want it.
He's absolutely right, though. For all your hardcover JLA needs, go to jayandsilentbob.com or Jay and Silent Bob Secret Stash. While you still have a chance, man, December 28th, the old stash closes her doors forever. And then in the first week of January, the new stash opens her brand new doors just down the street and whatnot. Ernie O'Donnell building it right now. You can see videos about it on my YouTube channel. It looks phenomenal. One side of the place looks like Chronic. The other side of the place looks like Buntman in colors. So, yes. So support the Secret Stash. Unlike the guy who owns the Secret Stash, buy all your shit there. That's an absolutely great fucking point, man. God damn it. Also,
local bookstore.
Yeah, they really. Here I am going like Amazon. They're the key, and they're like, "You're a fucking local comic shop, idiot." And I'm like, "Oh, you're right. Yeah, go to the Stash." I wasn't thinking. My bad.
It's all good. Should we get into it? Should we give the people what they want?
We should. Before we dive into it. Did you hear? We'll go through it in order, but during the last, there was a scene, I forget where it was, but somebody said fucking McClunky.
Yes, it was in the final Mos Eisley, not Mos Eisley, the Tatooine job.
Yes, that's what I thought. I thought I heard McClunky, and I was like,
well done, deep cut.
There, I saw an article today online, another like fucking article where I'm like, who's writing this shit? Where somebody was like, is there too much fan service in The Mandalorian? I'm like, fuck no, and shut up. Like, don't be starting that talk where all of a sudden it maybe manifests in like us getting less moments like we've had in like all this season. I saw some people going like, yeah, last season they didn't do so much fan service. I'm like, yeah, and that's why I love this season fucking more. This shit is making me a Star Wars fan again in a big bad way, man. And like, I didn't have to go far. It wasn't a deep journey, but like, this is Star Wars perfected, for heaven's sakes. Of course, there are going to be references to the past. Goddamn there better be. But I don't want to hear any of this fucking, is there too much fan service? Oh.
I think what Mandalorian did really well was they earned it. Like they invested you in these new characters that you've never seen before, that you're like, oh, okay, what's this guy about? And fucking Baby Yoda, sure, let's go on this ride. And so by the time, like, if you had gotten Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano in the first 2 episodes of the first season, it would have been like, oh, well, what is this shit? Like, I'm here for this guy, but then also these 2 people are crazy interesting. And now, like, so by the time you get to the end of this season, and we've given, at this point, 10, 12 hours of our lives to it, and then you get fucking Luke Skywalker, then you get R2, then you get all this stuff. They worked for it. They earned it. They just didn't, because you could have absolutely started with that shit and been like, oh yeah, no, I get it. It's the show. It's like Force Awakens, the series, where we're giving you all of this stuff without really earning it. They earned it, and I'm on board for it.
Oh, you're not kidding. First off, folks, if you're sitting in and watching the show, it goes without saying, spoilers. We're going to talk and spoil the fuck out of the season finale. Not only the season finale of The Mandalorian, but probably be talking about previous episodes of The Mandalorian. So if you don't want any of this shit spoiled for you, close your ears or go someplace else and watch it after you've seen it.
Stay off Mark Hamill's Instagram.
Yes. But although, to be fair, I was like, it's so strange. After the episode was done, I rewatched it again, and I'd seen the end credit piece.
Mm-hmm.
But during the credits themselves, I was tweeting about like my reaction to the show. And it hadn't occurred to me until the second viewing to see who played the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where I was like, oh, well, I wonder. And, you know, fucking sure enough, we saw a name in blue in those credits, man. I mean, in my mind, they're blue. I think they're still blue. We saw his name connected with that other name that we like love so much. I could not believe it. Like, you know, around the bar and pre that episode airing, you know, we were all talking and JC was like, and I think we did it on the show. JC's like, I bet the house on it being Ezra. And I was like, you know, that makes sense. I mean, what are they going to do? They can't, there's only so many Jedis they could do. We've already met Ahsoka. You know, they can't do Luke Skywalker because, and that's right there. I should have stopped because I'm such a literalist going, well, they can't use Luke Skywalker because, and, you know, somewhere Jon Favreau was like, fuck you. Of course it's going to be Luke Skywalker. Are you kidding me? He's like, because that would be the greatest thing ever. What I love about The Mandalorian is it's like going over to Favreau's house and watching him play with Star Wars figures. And he's so good at it that you don't even feel the need to jump in. You're not like, well, can I be a stormtrooper? You're like, you just keep doing it, bro. Like, I understand now why people watch other people play video games on Twitch. I was always like, you know, God, that must be so frustrating because playing video games is fun. If I watch somebody play a video game, I'm just going to want to do it myself. But when I watch The Mandalorian, it does not make me want to make Mandalorian. It does not make me go, oh, I want to do that. Like, if anything, it makes me want to pull out toys and fucking play and stuff like that. But I am more than content to watch Jon Favreau fucking play. And in this week's episode, he had a major assist, of course, by the director, Peyton Reed, who brought it on yet again. I'm telling you, man, that's how good that shit is. Sometimes I watch things and I'm like, it kicks my creative gear off where I'm like, what are you watching this shit for? You can make shit. Go make something. Go write something. I don't feel that way after Mandalorian. I don't watch it and it doesn't make me go like, ooh, I want to make something. It makes me go like, fuck, that's awesome. It reduces me to like a member of the audience who almost forgets that, you know, I know how to do this shit too. Mm-hmm. Like, I may not make shit like The Mandalorian, but I also make filmed entertainment, not like this anymore, but you know what I'm saying? Like, however we fucking shoot it. I don't pay much attention to cinematography, Marc, obviously. But like in a world where like I know how the sausage is made, to be able to fucking appreciate, savor, and want more sausage from some other fucking chef, even though you know, it's just fucking ground up pork with fucking spices. How different can it be? The guy makes great sausage. I will watch him fucking play Star Wars from now until the end of time. I loved watching him play with his Marvel figures when he made Iron Man. And I remember when they first announced, like, they're doing a new trilogy and shit. At first, I was like, they should get fucking Favreau, man. Iron Man's like practically the new Star Wars and shit. And then, of course, you know, it was JJ and Ryan and then JJ who did great jobs. But thank God they got around to like, yeah, go, John, what do you got? And he was like, oh, let me show you, and pulled out his gigantic Sarlacc pit-sized fucking cock and started showing us like beautiful things. Dude takes me on a fucking time travel journey right back to my childhood. I was so emotionally fucking involved. Like, you know, once that they're all fucking trapped on the bridge and you hear like the beep, 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 beep. And you're like, what's that? And, you know, you're like, all right, someone's coming to the rescue. And you see a fucking X-Wing and you're like, well, there's no.
That's the magic of it, because the audience is like, they wouldn't do that. Like, could it be? But it's an X-Wing. Who else flies an X-Wing? You know, is it Leia? Is it, I don't fucking know. Okay. And then like he walks through and then you see the green lightsaber. You're like, What? Come on, though. Is it?
It was so beautifully
The belt
staged.
buckle was the thing. The belt buckle, the fucking like the all black octagonal belt buckle. I was like, that's Luke Skywalker.
It was almost like he was like, "What was I wearing in Jedi? Oh yeah, I'll put that on." It was like seeing the, first you see the fucking the him in the giant cape. It reminds you right of Return of the Jedi of him coming into Jabba's palace, because that motherfucking Luke Skywalker is the same fucking Luke Skywalker who was like, "You will bring Captain Solo and the Wookiee to me." Like all fucking authority, all business, and a full-fledged fucking Jedi. So number one, you watch him fucking like effortlessly take people out. And they do that thing that only started with George and the prequels, where everyone's scared of Jedis, where they're like, "That's a fucking Jedi." And everybody gets like nervous and shit. Like at one point, he's like, "Open the door." And she's like, "What are you, crazy?" Like, I love that they turn Jedis into like Shogun warriors that everybody, even the good guys, are fucking afraid of, because they're like,
because now they're rare, because there's only like a fucking handful of them left. And so they become legend and myth and something to be either revered or feared or both, which is kind of great. But yeah, the last 10 minutes of that episode is like perfect suspense cinema. Like, because it's just reversal after reversal after reversal. It's like, all right, he flushes the dark troopers out. Okay, great. And then the fucking big fight and whatever, and he gets the dark saber. But the whole thing on the bridge where it's, who the fuck is coming? The dark troopers are back, and they're just marching through, and they're at the door, and you just hear the fucking thud of the fists on the door, and then you see the X-wing, and then it's like, oh, what the fuck's gonna happen now? And then, oh my god! And then it's, do we let him in? Like, it's all of these tiny little twists and changes, and it's all visceral and it's all kinetic. There's not a lot of dialogue there at all. It's just
it's all cinema. That's cinematic as fuck, that whole sequence. And Lord, fucking Favreau understands that this fucking community loves a hallway scene. Because, they fucking took one of the most, and it's only recent, but one of the most famous fucking hallway scenes of all time, and said, "Did you like what his dad did? Remember what his dad did? Watch his fucking son." And then, it's like watching a repeat, but you're like, yay. Like when you watched Vader in Rogue One, you were like, that rocks. But you were like, holy shit, Space Hitler is good at his job for the first time in these movies. But when you watch this and fucking Luke is just, murdering and fucking destroying dark troopers, it's all like emotional, like, yeah. As you saw him first in black and white, and a lightsaber snaps on, but you don't see the color. And then, when they're all in the room and they're like, it's a Jedi. And they cut to that shot where suddenly the fucking lightsaber, just the green comes right into the foreground and shit. That was when I lost it. That was when I started crying. That's when, if Jon Favreau was here, I would have embarrassed myself, like in sobbing and collapsing into his arms. What a beautiful fucking beat. I'm not taking anything away from any of the people that made the movies and whatnot. I loved all the Star Wars movies. I thought Rian Johnson did a great job. I thought his showdown with Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren was fucking dope. But, I also talked about, like, when I reviewed the movie years ago, like, yeah, I get it. Like, I understand it's important that he's not there because the legend grows, and that shows he's even more fucking powerful, that he was able to project himself across the galaxy. But I loved his one line where he's just like, what am I going to do? Stand there with a laser sword and take on the entire empire myself and shit. And so, as you watch Last Jedi, you're like, yeah, I guess I thought I wanted that, but you're right. I don't want that. This is cooler. This fucking sequence was essentially like, no, Luke Skywalker is a fucking lethal, the most destructive fucking Jedi that ever lived. And it's him. This ain't a forced projection. This is him at his peak Jedi. This man has just years before toppled the fucking Galactic Empire and killed the Emperor. Of course this motherfucker is going to take out dark troopers Of course, like he fucking scoffs at the idea of fucking facing a Moff Gideon and going to rescue Grogu and stuff like that. He is the ultimate perfected Jedi at this point. And it fits so perfectly because Mandalorian is the ultimate perfected Star Wars at this point, man. They take all that's good about Star Wars and all the things that make you go, yeah, and make you cheer even when you're fucking 50 years old. And they just keep layering it on with new stuff. This ain't old stuff, man. It's taking wonderful elements, familiar elements, and remixing and creating new situations while referencing classic cinema, classic Western cinema, classic Eastern cinema as well. It's a thing of joy, man. And I never once look at it and go, well, this is what I would do. Like, I am reduced to utter fan. I would make no different choices. It fucking destroys me whenever I read people online talking about like, oh, they should have done this. I'm like, are you fucking nuts? They're giving us something beautiful and you've got a fucking, like, you got some extra ask and shit. Here, the one thing I'll say, you know, as fucking Luke tore through all those dark troopers, yes, I would have enjoyed hearing, you know, the fucking, you know, the
John Williams tragedy score.
Of course, but this score was actually kind of dope and meditative and also had this gravitas to it. Like, you know, that's like a theme of high adventure and shit. This guy didn't come for high adventure. This guy literally came to like, I'm going to destroy evil and I'm going to take this good thing back with me and I'm going to train it to be a Jedi and shit like that. So there don't need to be like fucking happy music and shit. He's sad. There was a somber tone to that music as this guy's like, I'm still dealing with fucking Imperials. These fucking assholes are still out here. He's like, oh, well.
And there's also the feeling that Luke still has some of his father in him. You know, like, and if you watch those two scenes kind of back to back, the Vader in the hallway in Rogue One and Luke in the hallway in this one, some of the moves are the same. Some of the like, I'm going to crush this thing. I'm going to lift you up and fling you across the room. Like, there's still, for as good and wonderful as Luke Skywalker is, there's a dark side in him that's real. And like, when he lets it out, like, yeah, you can see how that guy will eventually get to a point where he realizes he can't be that guy anymore. You know, and he has to change his ways and he has to open a school and he has to eventually live on a fucking island somewhere because he doesn't trust himself and his power anymore. And the beginning of that feels like it's right here. Like, all of these lines connect. And there was a real sadness to that weirdly conflicted with the joy of like, is that fucking Luke Skywalker? And look what's happened to Luke Skywalker in a way. You know, it's not younglings and dark troopers are robots, and so he's not massacring motherfuckers, but he's ruthless in a way that we've never quite seen Luke Skywalker before, which is exciting, but also kind of petrifying.
Taking it back to the start in the opening sequence, where the Imperial is doing the standoff. And he's got the gun to Pershing's head and stuff, and he's just like, he notices her Cara Dune's tear and says, something about Alderaan.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he was like, oh yeah, I saw your planet destroyed. I was on the Death Star. And she's like, which one? Mm-hmm. And he's just like, he gets all shitty where he's like, that's not fucking funny. And he starts talking about all the people that died on those, what he calls those two bases. Mm-hmm. And it's the second time in as many weeks where they humanize the Empire in a way that you've never seen before. Last week with the transport trucks, there was like, when they got the one truck through, this fucking little ragtag group of Imperials were like, yeah, and they're partying and shit. And there's a human face to their victory. And this week, there's a human face to, the talk about the Death Star, the inference that those people were murdered. And he used the word like terrorists as well. Mm-hmm. He was like, it was destroying Alderaan was a small price to pay for wiping out terrorism or something like that. Now, number one, as the guy, who wrote the scene in Clerks about fucking innocent Death Star contractors getting killed, we're in my era of Star Wars now, Mark, where people are asking the important questions, questions that I've been waiting a quarter of a century to get answers to and shit like that. But I do enjoy this, like, and I'm not saying, you know, fucking there are good people on both sides, not at all. But I do enjoy this humanization moments of the Imperials rather than like these just faceless, like we're fucking bad. And I mean, let's be honest, most of the Empire is completely fucking faceless because they're all wearing like masks and shit like that.
In the worst armor that has ever been devised by people who can travel through space.
and they just like, somebody put it on, like, because we talked about it on last week's episode, and I saw somebody on Twitter, I wish I'd remember who it was, but it was really, I said, oh, that's pretty insightful. They said why that's happening and why that's special is because for your entire life, you have seen stories about the Empire who always won because, you know, they were fucking massive. And this little ragtag bunch of rebels who had the piss and vinegar to pull it together and fucking take the Empire down and shit. He's like, now it's role reversal. The Empire are these ragtag fucking remainders that are trying to keep their fucking thing going, fighting against the new republic and whatnot. So they're like, the person said on Twitter, you're seeing like victory. They never had to celebrate victories before because they just they would blow up fucking planets. So it's like, it's not like they all sat around going like, we did it. Like we had the most firepower. But as they're faced with dwindling numbers and defeat and whatnot, the tiniest of victories they're celebrating. Or in the case of the opening of this week's show, there's this sense of humanity and loss to the bad guys where, like, you know, you get the impression that that fucking dude who she shot in the face lost friends on one or if not both of the Death Stars and shit like that. It's interesting to layer in there, you know. Yeah, it's a nice dimension.
It's about perspective, right? Like there would absolutely be propaganda on both sides of the war, and there always is. You know, either the Axis powers or the Allies or whoever it is will automatically build a narrative explaining the reasons why the other side is bad. You know, and if you're the Empire, even if when you were blowing up planets, I'm sure that the narrative was these are terrorists who are coming to threaten our way of life. And in order to keep the Empire great, to make the Empire great again, you know, we need to act in such and such a way and do these things. You know, just as for the Rebel Alliance, like saying that the Empire is awful is the narrative that you use to stoke your own ability to fight a unwinnable war and then somehow find a way to win at the end. But to give voice to that other side and like, oh yeah, no, that guy absolutely had dozens of friends who I'm sure died in one or both of those Death Stars. And it's personal for that person. And he can't just kind of gloss over it. We've just never given that perspective voice before. And I do think it's interesting. I do think it's complicated in a way that Star Wars is not usually. It's morally ambiguous in a way that it normally doesn't travel.
A couple thoughts from here in chat. 101 Guitar Lesson says, what about the tiny baby handcuffs? How many toddler-sized people do they have in handcuffs in order to just have cuffs to fit Grogu? Boy, that sounds like something like Dante and Randall would say. Yeah, what was your take on the baby handcuffs? Were they also meant to like suppress his force powers, or they just keep his hands down so he can't use the force?
I mean, they were all glowy, so I get the feeling there was some kind of dampener effect. But also, how do you know how to build that unless you've been keeping lots of fucking force babies, which apparently they have, because you know that's their whole mission, is to hunt these force sensitive, you know, infants or creatures around the cosmos, drain their blood and use it to make new shit. So they might have it in, like, you know, maybe it's one size fits all. Maybe they got a whole fucking closet of varied sized handcuffs just for people who can do a little mojo with their hands.
Yeah, they're like, look, man, the galaxy's full of all shapes and sizes. We're the Empire. We got cuffs for all. True Believer says, Dave Filoni started down the road of humanizing the First Order in Star Wars Resistance. So there you go. I confess I'm not, I don't go deep on the cartoons as deep as I should. And now we're getting the cartoons in the shows in the live action, which is amazing.
Yeah. The only nit that I would have to pick with the final episode is that I kind of hope that the CG on Luke Skywalker was a little bit better. The first time I watched it, it didn't bother me at all. The second time, it's like, yeah, no, like a deep fake would have been better than this. Like the
Why don't they do a deep fake? I don't understand.
I don't know. Like it seems as if it's like the long way around to do a thing that the internet has figured out how to do cheaply and quickly and like better than that.
It is like it's strange as I watched it, like because there's about I would say 8 shots of him, maybe 10 max of cuts to Luke Skywalker and stuff. And some work better than others. But it is kind of like, you see those videos online, those deep fakes where you're like, Jesus, man, they fucking like put Vince Vaughn in a fucking Robert De Niro movie or some shit like that, where you like can't believe how convincing it fucking looks. But I saw a credit at the end, which I think I remember seeing in Rogue One as well. Legacy effects. That means when they go back and, duplicate someone from the old ass movies. There's a whole fucking department head in charge of essentially bringing, the young characters back, even though they're old at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same technology they use in The Irishman to make everybody, 50 years younger. And, that works to varied, degrees of success.
Look, I don't know about that. I think they were much more successful with what they did in Mandalorian than what they did in The Irishman. The Irishman, I was like, wait, how old is he supposed to be? I mean, it looks like Robert De Niro got Botox. That's it. They didn't make it look up.
But yeah, I mean, it is so wonderful a climax. And we talked about it, like, I think last episode, that like I said, I think we're going to see a Jedi in the season finale. And yes, we theorized any number of ones. I still think Mace Windu would have been cool, and I hope we do get Mace Windu at some point, because there's no reason he has to be dead when Boba Fett can somehow be alive.
Yes, and let's talk about that. What a wonderful. I mean, it wasn't timed this way because nobody knows when people are going to die. But of course, as we know, Jeremy Bulloch, who originated the role of Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi many years ago, he was the physical form of Boba Fett, not the voice of Boba Fett, not even back then before they changed it to, what's his name? The guy who plays him now,
Tamura Morrison.
Jeremy Bulloch was one of those rock star names of my childhood, like David Prowse, Peter Mayhew, one of the men behind the mask. So I knew that name forever. He's also, though, in Empire Strikes Back, not as Boba Fett. At one point, he is the Imperial, if I remember correctly, JC might be able to back me up. He is the Imperial officer that is escorting Princess Leia when she's like, Luke, it's a trap. I think that's Jeremy Bulloch.
Correct.
I think he double duty. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
I win my old Star Wars trivia games. I always remember that. That was like a cool thing when I was a kid. Like he's him and he's him. But in a week where we lost such an integral part of the Star Wars franchise, and we lost the guy who played Boba Fett originally. What a almost fitting poetic ending to the episode to see Boba Fett sitting on the throne of Jabba the Hutt. Completely unexpected. They haven't done a PS scene yet, have they? Is that the first one?
They did one before. I can't remember which episode it was. JC, I'm sure, can pipe in with what it was. But yeah, it is so fitting for Jeremy Bulloch to have seen Boba Fett be resurrected and reinserted, and in many ways reclaimed by Star Wars before he passed. Because I mean, Jeremy Bulloch was incredibly popular on the fan circuit. Like he would take pictures with every kid and sign every autograph, and did so for 40 some odd years. But there's always Boba Fett died like a punk, except he completely didn't. And now, we should all live long enough to see ourselves be reinserted to a frame of glory if so much of that particular part of your life had been a little bit blemished. But yeah, and for suddenly to be living in a world where we're getting the book of Boba Fett as probably, functionally, if not technically, season 3 of The Mandalorian is going to be the book of Boba Fett.
Here's a note from Just Shay saying, Kevin, the new song, that music that played when Luke arrived, was to show Luke isn't a kid anymore. He's a Grandmaster Jedi hero. Yeah, totally. I agree. That's what I was saying. I was like, of course I would have liked da, 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 and that's the theme of Adventure of young Luke Skywalker. But I said this music was much more somber. Like this guy is, you will bring the Captain Solo and the Wookiee to me guy. Yeah, man. I can't remember where and if, but in a world where this information is now out there about the Book of Boba coming next year, it's December 2021.
Yeah.
Somebody had told me recently, I forget who I was talking to, but there was talk about like, oh no, there's a whole fucking Boba thing going on that nobody knows about. And I was like, what? And I did not know that it was going to be fucking announced. I didn't know what was going. I mean, all I heard was they had shot a separate Boba thing. Apparently, that's what they've been doing, man. How ingenious! What a fucking you want to talk about a killer idea for a spinoff? Like back in the 70s, they were like, I know Laverne and Shirley. Fuck that, man. Like the Book of Boba. Oh my god! Like it's almost like they did The Mandalorian just to get to that fucking spinoff and be like, here's your fucking Boba Fett show. How awesome was it to see the fate of Bib Fortuna? Not the ultimate fate at the hands of Boba Fett, but that in Jabba's absence, this motherfucker rose and became the man. He went from being like the interpreter, his little fucking major domo guy, to literally being the head of the House of Hutt, man, and sitting there, and he put on some weight and shit. And he had his staff, like his action figure had the fucking staff and shit. So I loved when, I honestly did not piece together what was about to happen. Like I saw the shot of the palace and I was like, holy fuck, what's going on here? And then when you cut inside, I was like, oh, fuck, man, how awesome. And then all of a sudden it got even more awesome. Everything escalated in that fucking end credit scene. We were like, that rocks, that fucking rocks. And then they just ended the season. Oh my God, it was magic.
It makes up for Boba Fett just like ultimately piecing out as they invade Gideon's fucking light cruiser. We're like, I'm gonna shoot a couple TIE fighters and then I'm just jumping away. Good luck, everybody. Have fun storming the castle. All I was the ride.
How awesome was their fight too, where like him and the lady Mandalorian are going back and forth, and then she flips him and he gets up and they both turn on their fucking flamethrowers that just cancel each other out. It was really fucking good. Yeah, man, Peyton Reed directed the fucking shit out of that. Jon Favreau wrote the fucking shit out of it. And Peyton Reed did a phenomenal fucking job. I'm a big fan of the Ant-Man movies, so yeah, not surprising. And Ant-Man and all the Marvel movies are so like it's smart of them to go grab Marvel directors because like tonally they are very similar, joyous. They're not dark. Even when there's bad things or darkness happening, it's never all that fucking dark, man. There's fun to it. And those Marvel cats, they really know how to pull that off.
I was just going to jump in and say, had Boba not taken off, it would have been a really awkward scene at the end when Luke showed up. And Boba would have been like, hey, you're the Sarlacc thing, dick.
Yeah, what if he wanted revenge? What if he was just like, I'm going to fucking kill that Jedi? Yeah, man, it was dope. I have no idea where they're going to go with it. I wonder if they'll just leave him on Tatooine and have the adventures there. But seeing that motherfucker just sitting on Jabba's throne, bro, I had no idea technically Jabba had a throne. Like they always called it the throne room, the palace throne room, but like he just sitting on a platform. So it never occurred to me as a fucking throne. But once I saw Boba Fett sitting there, like obviously in a chair that hasn't been there when Jabba used to be there. The clear fucking, impression is like, oh no, Boba Fett's on a fucking throne. How badass is that? Like one of the greatest splash page images in fucking Star Wars history, pulling back and looking at that dude fucking sitting there with dead bodies all around him. And then they cut and fucking tell you there's more next Christmas. You're like, oh, fuck. How fantastic is that?
It would not, given that we got Luke Skywalker, which I didn't think we would get, and I don't think we're going to see any more of unless it's to return Grogu, because he doesn't feel like he's now.
What I wanted to ask you about, like, I got the distinct impression at the end of this that we were seeing, like not just the end of a season, the end of a chapter, but the end of an era. It feels like going forward, it's not going to be the Mando and Baby Yoda show. It's going to be Mandalorian. And, maybe he'll run into fucking Grogu down the road or adventures will involve, but I don't think I like if what it felt like was like, this is an ending. And of course, like in a world where Luke Skywalker just came and picked the fucking kid up, unless they do some sort of crazy time jump or something like that, it's like, he can't just be checking in on fucking Grogu every week because that's expensive to get Mark Hamill to show up every week and young up and shit like that. They better put Sebastian Stan on the payroll and fucking just recast. So, it feels like not like this is the end. Is this the end for Baby Yoda? But it feels like it feels like it was an underlining reminder of like, the show's not called The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's called The Mandalorian, and he's going to continue his adventures. This one happened to be 2 seasons long, but I get the distinct impression that, we're seeing kind of the end of Grogu. You?
And the book of Boba Fett allows you a really nice break if you needed to, just like, hey, we're going to do this for 8 episodes. And then when we return back to The Mandalorian, it can be 5 years forward. It can be, 2 years, it could be 10 years, whatever they want it to be. It seems as if, at the very least, the story is pointing towards, Bo-Katan wants a Darksaber, and now the only person currently who can wield it is the Mandalorian, and she wants it, and he would happily give it to her, but just can't. And so
she's well, they say she's got to beat him, but does she got to kill him? Can't she just beat him up?
I don't know. Or somebody else. It seems as if maybe Death has to be involved, but maybe not. I don't know. But somebody else could beat Mando, and then she could kill that person. Unclear, but they seem to be on a bit of a collision course. But I also wonder if part of the Boba Fett show is he might not like Luke Skywalker that much, but there is one person who totally actually killed him, who is actually in this timeline 100% alive. And that's one Han Solo. And if the book of Boba is, I'm going to fucking settle my debts and clear the decks so I can become a criminal overlord, then there's one more person on that motherfucker's list.
I mean, but what? They're never. That guy's never coming back. Even if they, you parked a money boat and said we'll de-age you, like he's made it very clear he's done. But then again, so did Marc.
So did Marc. And, Marc is credited absolutely as reprising as well as Luke Skywalker. But there was also Double for Jedi who came in to do, I think, all of that fight stuff.
Yeah, well, I would absolutely say so. I mean, look, Marc looks great for his age, but I don't think Marc could move like that anymore. They needed a guy who could go in there and pluckily, deftly move in a way that, Marc, as a guy who's in his 60s, I believe, at this point, like, maybe that's not how it's going to happen. But so that I, completely got. But I think the way I understand the credits, that was him. And he definitely at least did the voice. I don't know if they like just had him standing there and de-aged him or something like that. But he's definitely doing the voice, which they probably had to pitch up or something like that to kind of get closer to his old voice.
Although he's a very talented voice actor. Wouldn't surprise me if he could pitch himself up. That's
true. My God, you're absolutely right. One of the things I've thought, like, Luke Skywalker shows up and I was in fucking tears. Luke Skywalker snaps on the green lightsaber and fucking takes out all of the dark troopers. You know, I'm cheering at fucking 5 a.m. at my laptop and fucking rolling tears. That they could have, you know, credits right then and there, and they would have owned everybody. And somehow, even with all that, they were able to have 2 really fucking incredible moments with a puppet that surpassed even Luke showing up. One is the moment where Din takes off his helmet to show himself to Grogu. That's where I like suddenly started crying. Like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it now. It was incredibly beautiful. And, you know, as a storyteller, I should have seen that moment coming. And as it started happening, I was like, of course. But fuck, man, it was so well executed, if not absolutely elevated. Him touching his little face, Pedro Pascal earning every fucking dime he makes for the few shots that he takes off his helmet and he's there for, conveying like true fucking warmth and amazement for this little creature who he just spent like all these adventures with, and knowing that he's got to let him go and stuff like that. That was absolutely beautiful, stunning. And then, and this is going to be tough I'm going to try not to fucking cry. The same little guy who brought us all into Star Wars. Like, because if you go back to 77 before there's a baby Yoda or a BB-8 or anything, what captured every child and every adult's imagination was R2-D2. Simple little trash can looking droid who beeped and whistled and captured everybody's hearts. The original baby Yoda, the original way in. You know, the first taste is free, and that first taste was R2-D2. So to show Grogu being a little scared to go with Luke Skywalker, and then do that sick ass fucking reveal of R2-D2 coming in, just, you know, punching you right in your nostalgic balls, was almost like going like, that's the same way you got into Star Wars as a kid. That's how Grogu's going to get into Star Wars now. Yoda, R2-D2 is the doorway even for that character. I thought that was incredibly fucking special, man. Like, it shined a light on a character who didn't really have a fuck ton to do in the, you know, the last trilogy and stuff like that. And the last movie, it was barely there at all, really, it felt like. So this was absolute fucking magic, such a magic moment and whatnot. And of course, the kid would be fucking like bemused. You know, he's fucking playing with that little metal fucking ball at the top of the gear shift the whole fucking series. Of course, something like R2-D2 would like draw his attention and whatnot. And that moment where R2-D2 pulls in the third leg and then kind of like bends to look down at him and shit. Star Wars magic right there, man. Blissful.
Yeah, that's the moment that got me. Like, yeah. I was just amazed and impressed at Luke Skywalker. But like when R2 shows up, like that's when the tears started to roll in ways that I didn't expect to happen. But, you know, to your point, you're 100% right that R2 is the gateway drug of Star Wars. And just to hear that fucking the bleep bloops and just like, oh, you did it to me again.
Check it out, man. There's a bunch of chatter in this is why I love doing this show, because I don't think of shit like it. This never occurred to me, and you know what really bums me out? This would have occurred to fucking young Kev Smith after he watched Mandalorian like 26 times, but this new generation, they're fucking on it. Richard Adams, who is one of many people expressing this very similar sentiment. Ready? Did R2-D2 pull Grogu out of the Jedi Temple? Remember, the younglings got fucking slaughtered in the Jedi Temple.
Mm-hmm.
R2 was there, was around, was in that world. And, part of the joke for fucking months has now been, how did fucking Baby Yoda get away when Anakin Skywalker iced all the younglings and shit like that? So right now there's, easily 40 people in chat who are like, hey man, maybe R2D2 was the one that got fucking Grogu out of there in the first place. And maybe this was a re-meeting. Now, I doubt that was what was being communicated in that scene, but fuck, did I appreciate that people were quick enough to be like, no, he might remember a thing or two about that. Maybe he was involved with something like that. Thoughts?
I had never put it together, and I'm sure JC will help to correct me, that Grogu necessarily needed to be in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant to survive the Youngling massacre. He technically could have been anywhere, because he doesn't have any training. He is just naturally force powerful. So he could have been any place else in the cosmos and had been somehow in whoever captured him and put him in a fucking ball that the Empire is after. It's cool if he was on Coruscant and R2 had something to do with that. Although I don't know if R2 would have been there if he would have been with Anakin on Lava Land in his ship.
I'm going to say I don't think R2 stood by and watched Anakin slaughter a bunch of children and then was like, I'm going to save the little green guy. I think R2...
Like, look, there could be a really great short film in like R2's Choice where he, they're slaughtering younglings everywhere and he can only rescue one. And who does he pick but Baby Yoda?
D2's list. I could have saved one more youngling.
R2's list. This somebody put this in chat. I thought this was interesting. Cure said, I think Grogu just reminds R2 of Yoda, which would make sense. R2D2 met Yoda at this point in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He's been, and he wrestled with fucking Yoda where over the.
I don't think he liked Yoda. I don't think they got along that well.
Yeah, so maybe he's looking at Grogu like, not another one of these fucking things. Ew.
You're smaller. I can squash you with this third foot right here. If I have.
Up the middle leg, smash. You ain't hit me with a stick one day. Fuck you.
Luke, this guy's a thief. He tried to steal your lamp. They're all, no.
But then they're pointing out in chat, I lost it, somebody said R2 wouldn't have memories of that because his memory was wiped. But wait, that's he.
3PO's.
R2 remembers.
Yeah, 3PO's memory was wiped.
But at the end of Revenge of the Sith, remember, and what's his name is like, and wipe the droid's memories.
Wipe the gold one's memories. R2D2 keeps his memories.
Is that canon?
They in Revenge of the Sith, they say to wipe 3PO, but they leave R2.
When there's no line that says leave the little one.
No, but they don't say wipe the droids. They say wipe the protocol droid's memory or wipe the gold one's memory. And then R2 so R2 has his memory intact.
How cruel is this shit? So these two dudes hang out together and the one little guy is like, remember when all this shit happened? And the big guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
You're drunk again.
Shut the hell up. Stop making shit up. I didn't know that. That's fucked up.
I wanted to point out that at the end of Return of the Jedi, one of the last lines in the movie is, help me take this mask off. I want to look on you with my own eyes. And in this episode, Luke watches a father take his mask off to show his son his face for the first time.
That's fucking beautiful. I hadn't even thought of that. He's standing there witnessing it and whatnot. That's good, JC. Good call. That gave me chills. Yeah, man. There's a moment too where Luke is holding Grogu and like Grogu looks at him and he's looking down at Grogu. Which, once again, they could have fucking written a zillion lines of dialogue, something like I would have done, but instead they communicated it beautifully with a performance. And like you could see it in Luke's eyes, even if he is a CG, kind of character, that like, oh my God, there's another one of these? Like in his life, Yoda died not too long ago, right? Like When does Return of the Jedi happen?
5 years. Yeah.
So how sweet and moving for him, his buddy, his mentor, his master, Jedi master, gone, and suddenly he meets a little version of him, and that performance moment like perfectly communicated that for me, where I was like, I know what's going on here.
I appreciate your insistence on using the name Grogu.
You got it.
Like we're trying to make fetch happen for real.
Yeah, man. Hands down, like, one of the top, I would say, 5 Star Wars things ever for me. That was incredibly special. And it was quite a gift for like the bunch of people who were like, man, I wish I could have seen my Luke Skywalker again, like the one that I grew up with. That's what a lot of people said after like Last Jedi. They're like, what happened? He's got a beard and he's sad. And this was a real, and I loved that Luke Skywalker as well. But this was indeed Luke Skywalker I fucking grew up with, and I was so happy to see him return. What a gift. Like, that first thing I say to Favreau, if I ever see him in life, is going to be about the return of Luke Skywalker. I thought that took huge storytelling balls. Huge. But you know what? He earned it. After 2 seasons of this fucking show, and I would argue that this is a perfect season 2. Of course he fucking had the balls to pull it off. He had the talent. He had the chops. He earned it. We earned it as an audience. Oh, it's beautiful.
I was going to say, go ahead, Marc. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's so nice to see Star Wars executed with a plan. I think that there are moments in the sequel trilogy that I like, and I do like Last Jedi, I think more than some, if not most. But I think the grand failing of those 3 movies is that there was no consistent plan to see any of them through. They were kind of making it up as you went, and the continuity wasn't there, and a sense of escalation wasn't there, and there were warring sort of philosophies on what Star Wars was. Whereas The Mandalorian is 2 guys who got together and says, what would be really cool? Like, what if we made Star Wars and like did all the things and knew where it was going and brought in characters we thought could amplify it and make up new characters who we thought would be cool? What if we did, the thing that every corporation talks about doing, which is find ways to tell diverse stories with diverse storytellers, but make it so that you barely notice it. Just make it effortless. It doesn't go without at least me commenting on that. The final sequence of The Mandalorian is 4 women storming a bridge and killing everybody. Like badass in the most badass version of badassery. I think there's like 1 white dude with a line in that entire episode. And you don't care because it's so great. It's so great. And that's when diversity works, is when the audience doesn't notice it and it just becomes the fabric of the stories you're telling. And they had a plan. They knew where they were going and they knew how to get there. And they knew, I don't know how soon they knew they were going to get to Luke Skywalker, but they knew at some point that Jin, Jardine, and Grogu were going to part ways.
They were like, we're saving our 1 white guy for Luke Skywalker. We got 1 white guy card to play, and guess which one it is, man.
I was just going to echo what Marc said, which was you didn't even notice that Star Wars gave you the powerful women here because it was built from episode 3 of season 1 up to this. And not to shit on Avengers Endgame, but in Endgame, they kind of put it right front and center in the camera saying, we're doing this. In Star Wars, it just organically happened. And so it went over so many people's heads that, for 15 minutes of this episode, we just had 4 diverse, badass women getting the job done. And you didn't even notice it because it was so seamlessly executed. and built up over 8 hours, which I thought was great.
It was very great. Let's be honest, there's so much fucking good in this series, but particularly the season finale episode, that you forget stuff like that, moment where the women fucking take on platoons of stormtroopers and fucking ice them and shit like that. And we also didn't really speak about Giancarlo Esposito's performance, which like is pure classic movie villain.
Yeah, he's doing so much with so little. And just like every scene with him in it, like everything that feels like it could be hammy and scene chewy and like mustached twirly becomes just fucking sinew and class. Like he's so good at that. And it's easy to say that he's the obvious choice for your big bad because he does that so incredibly well. But like there's this kind of slithery charm that he can muster that makes like not even to say that Moff Gideon's a cardboard bad guy, but he could be in the hands of the wrong actor. And he's just leaning into it in ways that's so much fun to watch.
And how awesome is it that Imperials are just like, oh, fuck this. Like every one of them, they're either trying to bite down on a fucking capsule or this fucker's like, fuck it. Like it's so badass. And something like you never saw in the original Star Wars trilogy. There was no moment where the rebels came in and some fucker was like, oh, fuck this, and just took his own life. But more of that, I'll take a whole movie full of fucking scared Imperials taking their own lives rather than facing fucking some Din action or any of Din's friends. Giancarlo Esposito just giving a clinic on how to deliver sci-fi action dialogue and make it seem like believable and real with stakes. Like, he just put in the same performance. It's so crazy as I sit there and watch him. I'm a huge Do the Right Thing fan. I'm like, that's bugging out. Like the same guy who was like, yo, Sal, we're going to boycott your fat pasta ass is Moff Gideon. Yo, Sal, how come you got no brothers up on the wall? Like, that's Moff Gideon. It's crazy.
How come you still want my Jordans? How come you still want fucking Jordans?
Yeah. Yo, your Jordans are fucked up. He's a brilliant choice, man. Like, once again, Favreau is the mind that brought us Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and what a difference that made to, not just Marvel Studios, but to the world of entertainment in general. Last 10 years of our lives have been better because Robert Downey Jr. has been fucking Tony Stark and shit like that. Marvel Universe grew because it had a very strong spine in Tony Stark. His casting instincts are fucking incredible, man. Just absolutely fucking delightful. And how awesome that they let Moff Gideon live.
Yeah.
That they weren't just like, oh, he's fucking dead, we had to kill him and shit like that, or he killed himself. He's like, no, he'll be back.
Yeah. You can't get rid of that dude. Too much joy.
All right, man. Did we cover everything? And I'm looking in chat to see if there's anything we didn't cover. Nick Kozan says the scene with Cara Dune trying to get her 60 caliber laser rifle working was great in the elevator where she's like bang bang. And she's like, excuse me, and the other what's her name ducks as it goes over her head. It was a fantastic episode. I think we've kind of shot our wad on it, man. I give that, if we're doing, numbers and scales of numbers, that one's fucking hands down a 10 out of 10. Like, I honestly didn't think you could get better than some of the episodes they did this season, where I was like, what a mind fuck that was. This was incredible. Even their quiet episodes, like they did some things that I'd never seen done in a Star Wars thing before. But this season finale, man, it was just not just incredibly satisfying to a Star Wars fan, and if you're a fan of Mandalorian and stuff, but as a storyteller, I was just like, my hat's off to you. I never would have had the balls to be like, I know, Luke Skywalker. Like, wouldn't that be great? Like, Luke is the obvious answer, but like, I would just be like, yeah, but too many things would make that hard. And thank God that fucking Favreau is like, I made The Jungle Book. I made Lion King. Like, I can make Mark Hamill look young enough to bust a few lines and get the fuck out.
I made Beyonce a lion.
Yeah, exactly. That shot of them together in the elevator, like right before the doors close and the credits fucking roll and shit. It's like a real Star Wars moment, man. A real like Star Wars fucking finale and shit. And I was so glad they went out on that. It was such a great visual, such a great image. There's Luke, there's R2, and there's Grogu in his hands, man. And it's like the doors close. This book is done. So next time we come back to Mandalorian, well, you're not going to be protecting the little baby again. It's not like they're going to run that fucking scam. So who knows what it is next?
But I look forward to the moment when Mando is in over his head and all seems lost. And the rescue that shows up is Grogu, kind of all grown up.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Him talking, like I don't know if I want to ever hear Grogu talk. I like hearing him coo and shit like that. Like I love when he's up.
If there's the moment when Grogu is fucking like force choking motherfuckers out to get to the safe that the Mando's stuck in, and the door opens and it's just Grogu, and he says, "This is the way." That's all I fucking need.
We didn't even talk about we called it. We talked about it weeks previous, but it's like, hey, I bet you that spear is going to cross, swords with the Darksaber, and fucking sure enough, they absolutely did it. And how delightful. Beskar steel is a relatively new creation, I believe. I've only heard about it for Mandalorian, because introducing the, uncuttable armor, the, nothing can fuck with this. The adamantium or the vibranium of the Star Wars universe, maybe it's not the most incredibly original stroke of brilliance, but like I enjoy having that in that world. They never had that before. There's something like it's like throwing kryptonite into Star Wars. You're like, oh, right on, man. This is a game changer.
Something can actually hold up against a lightsaber. That's cool.
I was told by some of my Mandalorian cosplay friends that Beskar has been what they refer to their armor as for a long time. But I do believe the can't cut through it with a lightsaber it wasn't invented in this, but it has been referenced. This is the boldest they've made it.
Agreed. Peter Comninos in chat says, Book of Boba is a separate show. It's not season 3 of Mandalorian. We know. We didn't say that it was. We were just talking, maybe you missed the part where we said nothing like that whatsoever. But yeah, we know. It's a whole separate series, man. Yeah, they didn't announce that fucker. Like, remember just like a few days before last week, they were like, here's every fucking Star Wars thing you could shake a lightsaber at. And then the credits of this, they're like, by the way, here's one more.
Yeah. Look at our lovely reticence to tell you. We managed to hold off giving you the biggest Star Wars gun, which is fucking a Boba Fett show. That is some restraint.
It really is. All right. That's the Mandalorian appreciation hour and a half. There must be is there any other news in this world right now?
I mean, there's a couple things we could talk about, or we could just do Q&A. None of it's like that awesome.
Nothing's really happening, right? This seemed like the biggest news of the week.
Yeah, like Clooney once again shits on Batman and Robin because that's his move.
It's not surprising.
Yeah. I mean, physical pain to watch, he says.
All right, then, yeah, I think Mark's right. There's no need to do news. We don't really have much news to talk about. So that means that we move on to the finale of our show, the final section, ladies and gentlemen. The Q&A, for which we bring JC back. And JC will give your questions 3 to me and he, and we will answer thee. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for Jay and Silent Bob type Christmas shit, go to jayandsilentbob.com. If you want to give the gift of a membership in that Kevin Smith Club to that Kevin Smith Club fan in your life, go to thatkevinsmithclub.com. Marc's got a shirt to sell. Where are you sending them?
I do. Embattledclothing.com. You can get yourself a Be Humble t-shirt or sweatshirt or stickers or what have you. You can still get a Resistance is Fertile shirt. But yeah, it's all there. Go get some. If you use the code MARC15, save 15% off your first order.
And of course, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, our sponsor this evening is good folks at Keeps. They want you to keep your fucking hair. It's that fucking simple. Go to keeps.com, keeps.com/fatman. And you're going to get yourself some free shipments. Like Amazon. I got a website where we sell shit and people are like, how come you don't fucking do free shipping like Amazon? It's like, because I'm not a fucking billionaire like Jeff Bezos. I would think that much is obvious.
Yeah, I like to pay the people who work for me.
I also don't fucking have an island in the Turks and Caicos or whatever fuck. And that's another reason I'm not Jeff Bezos. All right, JC, we got questions here.
Yeah, we got some good ones. The Trash Panda wants to know, Star Wars has a long history of redeeming its villains. If you could do a redemption story for any fictional villain, who would it be and how would you make us root for them?
Wow. I mean, boy, they redeemed Boba Fett without redeeming him. Most recently, I thought that was rather impressive. I mean, if anything, they just made him more badass and stuff. So it's not like they, like I was gonna say, it'd be a great fucking redemption story, Bib Fortuna, but not anymore. There goes my fucking miniseries. I was hoping to do the Bib Fortuna, but he's out. Oh, Fortuna.
I mean, they've done some good work on Lex Luthor, who had been very mustache twirly for a long time.
Oh wait, this doesn't have to be a Star Wars character?
No,
any villain.
Oh, because I was like, there's like only 3 bad people in Star Wars. It's like Darth Vader, and he turned. I was like, I don't know, Thrawn. Anybody who's been bad that you could turn.
Yeah.
Oh, the shark in Jaws.
Oh, Bruce.
Redeem him, just like get people to understand. He's like, I'm hungry. I'm not a monster. I'm just hungry. No, who could one redeem? There was a moment in, this is not a fucking plug because I got no skin in the game, but since it's sitting right here, there is a moment in one of these kill somebody, they're so thick, Grant Morrison JLA stories where the Joker feels remorse for everything he's done. He gets a hold of the Whirligog and is confronted with like ultimate truth or whatever, and rationality returns to him for a fucking second. And there's this beautiful panel, I think Howard Porter drew it, but it's definitely written by Grant Morrison, where Joker has this, it's always madness and shit like that. For this 1-2 panels, he has perfect sanity and clarity. And he breaks down going, my God, all the people, like he realizes how many fucking people he's killed, and it nearly breaks his brain again or whatever fuck. I just thought that was a cool moment. But I don't know if you want to redeem the Joker.
Yeah. I mean, I think redemption isn't necessarily that interesting for me as much as understanding. Like if you could make us understand why this person does the things they do, there's something so much more interesting to me about that.
Like Killmonger, Killmonger made you understand, and they didn't redeem him. Although that would be a good redemption story, because in a world about it on the show. Nope. Am I back? Yes.
Your audio dropped for a second.
Yeah, because I opened my things. In a world where they're not doing T'Challa, if Killmonger became the new Black Panther and that was a fucking redemption story, that'd be great. But he died. I don't know how they can pull that off.
No. Did he though?
You see, I don't know why I'm in the movie business because I'm such a literalist. I'm like, well, he's dead now, so he can't come back. Just like, well, Luke Skywalker, he could never show up for this show.
I mean, like Winter Soldier is also a really good one because he begins as a villain, and eventually, like, we understand his perspective and he changes and he tweaks. We get that he's been manipulated and all of that stuff. I think I would, for some reason, I went straight to Shere Khan from the Jungle Book. Because like maybe he's upset at maybe being like the last of his fucking pack, that they've been hunted almost to extinction, and he's different than everybody else, and he's a fucking panther, and the panther hide is incredibly valuable, and he's just like, here's why this guy is the way he is, and if you understand that, maybe he doesn't necessarily want to be evil. He's also like Bruce, our animal villains. Let's redeem our animal villains, where it's like, listen, all I do is swim and eat. I don't like want necessarily to kill these particular people, but I got to do. Shark's got a shark, panther's got a panther, and I'm running out of places to panther. So maybe if I kill this kid, they'll stop hunting us so much because they'll be afraid of the jungle again. I understand his wants and needs. It's not redemption, but it's at the very least empathy.
And I'll back that play because I like the name Shere Khan. Who's playing Shere Khan? Wasn't it Idris Elba in the movie?
Yeah. Hello, Alice.
Hello, Alice. I'm not going to eat you anymore, Alice.
Come on, Mowgli. It's not so bad. It'll be quick.
We're canceling the apocalypse. All right. Those are two answers.
There you go.
JC, what else we got?
Henrik in chat said, redeem the script writers of Game of Thrones season 8.
I think that's impossible. I don't know. I'm not that good a writer to be able to fucking get those guys out of that hole. Boy, oh boy, it's like, with all due respect, to be fair, they were on what, season 7 of that, and Mandalorian's on season 2 or whatever the fuck. But like, this Mando show knows how to fucking do a season finale. Fuck, man. Like, there was no dissatisfaction whatsoever. But you know what? To be fair, Game of Thrones did many season finales that were great. It was just the series finale that was a little.
Yeah, they didn't stick that landing.
Yeah. But you know what? I wouldn't have even gotten that far. I wouldn't have gotten off the fucking pilot. So they did way better than I. For as many people that always bitch about that last season, I'm like, I couldn't have done it.
All right. We got another question. This one's from Rob Buck, who wants to recast Clerks using only Star Wars characters.
Okay. Well, Jay and Silent Bob are definitely C-3PO and R2-D2.
Mm-hmm.
Luke is Dante. Han is Randall. Well, it's either Caitlin or Veronica as Princess Leia. Let's go with Veronica. The Death Star contractor guy is Lobot. No, I don't know. I feel like I hit the main ones.
I think you got it.
Yeah. That's a good question, but Mark didn't get to play on that one.
Yeah.
So let's make sure.
I wasn't even going to hop in.
Rules, JC, where we used to have to fucking ask something that only both of us can answer.
I thought
Maybe
Mark could jump in on that. I was thinking more like,
it's a cast of fucking 4 characters. It's like we're out of it pretty quick.
Okay, this one we'll stick with another Star Wars. Jimmy Greer. He says, Luke is the galaxy's best Uber driver. What other profession would Luke Skywalker be great at outside of Jedi? Like, let's say he left the moisture farm to seek his fortune, but never met Obi-Wan. What job does Luke Skywalker get in a galaxy far, far away?
Commercial pilot, freight driver. Like, he's good in a ship. And, like ex-military men, they always wind up doing like United Airlines and shit like that, right? So I'd imagine he'd segue from a govy job to a comfy job in the private sector, involving his skill set and whatnot. He's man of peace, as we saw in Last Jedi. He's just looking to drink that titty milk and hang out by himself and stuff. So probably, he ain't looking for no more adventure. I think he's content to do like he does the Burbank to Vegas route. 4 nights a week. One night he does a stay, and then he deadheads back. Is Star Wars ruined for you kids? That's why I'm not in charge. That's why they're giving it to good folks.
Commuter pilot.
So like that's what happened to the hero of the galaxy. I'm like, he wanted a steady job, quiet. It was either that or air traffic controlling, and he went with that.
It's the like Clarence comes to Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like, hey, I want to know what my life would be like if I wasn't in it. Well, meet Luke Skywalker, short-haul pilot from Mos Eisley to the moisture farms.
And he's got that kind of personality, man, who would be like a Southwest pilot who's just like, hey, we're landing, everybody's alive, and everybody applauds with the plane landing. He's the
thanks for flying, Mos Eisley here. My name is Luke Skywalker. I've been your pilot. Don't forget to put up your seat backs and tray tables, and thanks for flying with us. Take care, bye.
No way, bro. No way. It ends with, thank you for flying with us, and may the force be with you. And then he gets reprimanded for bringing religion into his job all the time. They're like,
Mr. Skywalker, how many times do we have to tell you? This is
like, hey, it's Captain Skywalker. Captain, I got the fucking badge right here.
Oh, yeah, sure, buddy. Captain Skywalker.
I earned my wings. I did blow up the first Death Star.
I think he could also be an exterminator because he was really good at bullseyeing womp rats in his T-16 back home. And now that's all he does. Just like you got a womp rat problem, oh, your boy, Luke Skywalker.
Or he's good at flying, but he's shitty at landing. So, they can't have him as a Southwest pilot and shit. So instead, yeah, he's crop dusting. He's crop dusting.
There you go.
And he does aerial stunt shows on the 4th of July, barnstorming, if you will.
But Han says traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops, boy. So maybe Luke, because he doesn't meet Han, he's like, crop dusting would be a good career.
He's like, you know what? Fuck that guy. Nothing's like dusting crops, because dusting crops is fun. And he decides to go back to being a farmer. Don't we all go back to where we came? Isn't that the point of life? To great is to go on. To go on is to go far. To go far is to return. So I would say he's like, yeah, fuck, man. I'm ready to go. Ready to go back to the sand planet. Fucking maybe open up a little shop, convenience store in Tashi Station. Sell power converters. Blue milk. Straight out the titty blue milk. Everyone loves that fresh milk, right? They're like, not really, Luke. I like it out of carton. He's like, well, you ain't tried it till you take it straight off the right off.
A rap album called Straight Out of Titty. Close-up magician. Like, he's got just enough of the force to be able to make like cards and shit move around. Like, I can't lift X-wings, but I can make this coin move across the room.
Oh, that'd be amazing. And instead of being like, all sorts of like bright-eyed and innocent like he always was and shit like that, he's become more like a Han Solo where he's like, I'm fleecing these pigeons. He's become like an artful dodger, and fucking Yoda appears to him in spectral form, and he's like, wasting your fucking gifts you are. And he's like, hey. He's going, I'm going to drink you away, little man. He fucking pulls out his space liquor.
Listen, I've got a hut right next to the fucking cantina. I got all the titty milk I can drink. I don't need anything else. So fuck you, little dead man.
And then you get away with that so long as in the third act he shows up, on the planet and Ghost fights the bad guy, because then I thought about Last Jedi a bunch, obviously, when I watched this episode of The Mandalorian, because that was the last time we saw Luke. And so there's obvious parallels one could make. What, if anything, and this is all conjecture, what, if anything, in watching that episode and watching, Luke Unleashed, do you think Favreau feels about the prequels?
I mean, it again, pure conjecture.
Absolutely.
We cannot pretend to know what Favreau thinks about very much. But it seems as if he senses missed opportunities, and ways to earn fan service in a way that makes it not feel so much like you've been chummed, but more like you feel like you've been rewarded.
He sounds like every fan, or he occurs to me as every fan on the internet who's like, oh, I would have done this. This is what I would have done. This is what I would have done. And not people that shit on a thing with like, it fucking sucks and I hated it. But like, yeah, it was good. But like, if they had done this, it would have been cool. He feels like that, but he just got the power to actually make it happen. Like, as opposed to the rest of us sitting around here going like, I don't know, Luke be dusting crops. He's like, Luke dusts crops and actually makes a thing.
Can I stir the pot? And I'm sure I'm going to piss some people off. But in both the Ahsoka episode and out of Luke Skywalker's mouth in this episode, he says, talent without training is meaningless. And that comes out of Ahsoka's mouth and Luke's mouth. And I can't help but think that it relates to...
Who's that directed at?
I can't help but think that that's a little wink and a nod to our superhero Jedis that appear in the sequel trilogy without any training.
Is that right?
I mean, I didn't write those lines, but Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau did.
That's insightful, man. I wouldn't have thought, I wouldn't have seen that. Somebody pointed out that I said the prequels, but I meant, of course, the sequels. I was saying, what did he think? What is Favreau? We're trying to figure out what John's take on the sequel trilogy was. But I liked what JC just said. That kind of makes sense. I hadn't thought about that. Okay. Our final question of the evening, JC, what do we got?
All right. As we wrap up probably our last show before the holidays.
Is that right? I figure we get maybe one more off, but I could be wrong.
Well, Christmas, I think, is Thursday or Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
Which we're also getting Wonder Woman 84. So if we do a show next Saturday, which would be the 26th, we can talk about Wonder Woman, if that sounds good. We're just planning live on air now. But
yeah, that'd be a week from now. But that's good. We could totally talk about Wonder Woman and shit. That's right. It'll drop the day before.
I can have some thoughts about a year-end list, which I like to do.
You do. Mark likes a list. Pull it together.
I like a list.
I mean, what did you see? Fucking 3 movies this year?
That's the thing. Like, it's what's this? Like, let me rank the episodes of Ted Lasso from 1 to 10. It's like, well, they're all really good. But I think that the 10 best things I saw this year, I think is pretty cool, and that lets it be video games and TV shows and movies, and hopefully Wonder Woman 84 will make that list. But yeah, I think that'll be fun.
Yeah,
especially because I don't expect there to be much news the day after Christmas.
Agreed. I agree. All right, wait, did we hit our last question or
no? Last question comes from Jim Chapman, and Jim is interested in knowing what property or show would you love to see a holiday special if you were tasked with creating one? So we got long time ago Lego, or we got Star Wars holiday special. We got Lego Star Wars holiday special. We're getting a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. What would you guys want to do?
Rick and Morty.
That'd be fun.
They've had Santa, but like a full flat out Christmas episode. Because the holidays can be a really depressing time as well for some people. And I think the Rick Sanchez character perfectly captures people who get depressed. So it'd be interesting to see what Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland did with the, it's the season is the reason and that kind of shit. We've seen them touch on Jesus as well, and Jesus is a big part of Christmas for some people and stuff. So yeah, I would take a Rick and Morty Christmas special off the top of my head. What about you, Mark?
I would like a Back to the Future Christmas special. I think you take the DeLorean back to Jerusalem in the year 0000 and meet Jesus as he's being born, and you fucking go to the manger, and then like you gotta find plutonium in the Middle East in year 0. I think time travel, to your point, like helps you, gives you a lot of leeway and a lot of latitude, lets you do a lot of things. But I think Doc Brown and Marty back in time to witness the beginning of Christianity could be kind of fun.
I wonder like how that would do at the box office. Because number one, you're getting another Back to the fucking Future movie. And people are like, are you fucking kidding me? I never thought that would happen. And they're like, but it's like, it's so religious. It might as well be an episode of Veggie Tales. Like remember Veggie Tales, kids? Those the tomato and the cucumber that love Christ. That's what this shit's gonna be. So you sure you want it? I'd go for it. I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's see him not only meet baby Jesus, but save his fucking life. That'd be dope.
Hey, save one of the wise men who gets like fucking shanghaied on the path, and then like Doc Brown has to be one of the 3 wise men, bringing something to the manger, and then they got to save them from, I don't know, Romans. I know Romans aren't in it yet, but
no, they'll work.
They'll work. Romans can be bad guys.
Fucking Romans. I did that Sopranos thing last night, and after I was done, I said to my wife, I was like, let's rewatch all the Sopranos. So I just started rewatching the Sopranos. I'm almost at the end of season 1 today. And at one point they talk about the Romans, like when they're trying to shake the guy down and divorce the dude's wife. And he's like, we'll give you a piece of the motel business or something like that. And the guy like brings up the story of Masada, where he's just like, for 2 years, 1,000 Israelites took Masada and didn't surrender to the Romans, and then finally took their own lives and stuff like that. And he's like, and where are the Romans now? And Tony Soprano goes, where are the Romans? All right, let's.
What if we did a Christmas Carol starring the Ghostbusters? So you have the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future with Peter Venkman trying to figure out the whole ghost dynamic. And like, do they actually go after, to try to save Bob Cratchit, or, they're like hired by Scrooge to stop these ghosts from haunting him?
I like your first pitch. I'm gonna add to it. I think our 3 ghosts should be 3 Ghostbusters, and our Scrooge should be Bill Murray playing the role again, but as Peter Venkman this time. And so your ghosts of past, present, and future would be Ray, Egon, and Winston.
That's apparently the chat is hollering at me because they did it in the Ghostbusters cartoon. So not an original idea, but
James Ratliff in chat was like, they called it Scrooged. Bill Murray was Scrooge. We know. Scrooge is one of my favorite fucking movies, man. And
I like the idea of Bill Murray and Scrooge hiring the Ghostbusters to get rid of the ghosts who come and visit him.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Crossover.
It's
multiverse.
Yep.
It's all the rage now, kids.
The Murrayverse.
The Murrayverse. Some cats are calling for a Game of Thrones holiday special. Some cats in chat are calling for Legolas and Gimli. There's a few people looking for Jay and Silent Bob. I'll back that fucking play. I know a guy. I can talk to a guy about that and shit. All good ideas. All good ideas. Does that answer? That's the last question, is it?
I think that's it, my friend.
Oh my God, we're out of content, kids. It's that terrible time when there's nothing left to talk about until next week. And next week, we're going to have something to fucking talk about for sure, man. Wonder Woman, 1984, dropping on HBO Christmas Eve at fucking midnight, which I guess technically is Christmas morning. I'm staying up and watching the fucking shit out of that, man. I don't care if I watch it on my phone or a big ass TV in my house. I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of that and whatnot. And we'll gather on Saturday, I guess roughly the same time, a week from now, and chit chat about that and fucking Christmas and the meaning of Christmas. And we'll read from the Bible a little bit. And
was the night after Christmas, went all through the house.
How about that, kids? Did you have a good time today? Did you enjoy yourselves sitting around talking about, somebody said, Marc Wengalewski said, Calvin and Hobbes animated Christmas special. I have no idea how much I wanted that until I just saw that.
It is so surprising there's never been Calvin and Hobbes animated stuff.
Bill Watterson was very tight with that. He didn't apparently want to do any of that stuff.
Yep.
Love those characters. What a good idea. One of the reasons I love doing this show is because not only do we get to sit here and geek about things we love and fan out over things that we adore, you get to listen to a bunch of other people do the same thing, man. You realize how similar we all are with our goofy ideas and how things that make us happy and whatnot. This show is one of those things that makes me happy, man. A happy, bright spot in a terrible, terrible year of 2020. There is no show without JC plugging us into the internet. Give it up for JC. Andrew's usually helping him out when we're there live and in person, but I think JC is home right now. But there's absolutely no show without this guy. This guy. There it is. This guy right there. Give it up for the marvelous Marc Bernardin, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Fat Man Beyond for this week. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Marc Bernardin.
Tune in next Saturday, same fat time, same fat channel, smodcast.com or
youtube.com/Kevin Smith.
This is the way.